switching over to the Ukrainian situation, what do you think is going on with Wagner, Russia, Belarus? I mean, what is this thing? Because they keep us guessing on every end. Was that a orchestrated coup attempt? Was that a real coup attempt? I mean, what is going on here?
I think the West is getting played by Russia. I felt that pretty early on, and with each passing week, I become more convinced that that's the case. If you saw, there's a picture now circulating just from today in St. Petersburg of Prigozhin standing next to one of the leaders of an African country, shaking hands. I think it's from the Central African Republic. So, if he had really tried sincerely to topple the top generals, I don't think he'd be walking around. Remember that the West can't keep its story straight. We're told on the one hand that Vladimir Putin is a ruthless, murdering authoritarian, and that anybody that crosses him, he will make sure they die. He'll go send poison with radioactive material, slit their throats, push them out of window. That's Putin, right? But now we have Prigozhin, who supposedly tried to carry out a military coup, a mutiny, and he's walking around. He's meeting with Putin. He's not getting pushed out a window. He's not getting run over by a truck. So I think it's important to understand that you can't interpret what Prigozhin's doing without understanding the fact that Prigozhin's role with the Wagner Group was a creation of Russian military intelligence. In other words, Prigozhin I think he's an intelligence asset for Russia. He performs a variety of roles. For example, he was also linked as the head of the Internet Research Agency, IRA. Well, what is the IRA? They were involved in running information operations overseas, psychological warfare. Putting out that kind of information is an intelligence activity. Well, Prigozhin was involved with that, at least the ostensible figurehead. And then with the Wagner Group, Prigozhin has zero military experience. He's lucky that he knows which end of the rifle the bullet comes out. And so when Wagner was created, set up, it was done by the Russian government as a way to have, let's call it, a mercenary group that would not necessarily be directly tied to the Russian government. It could be always passed off as an independent operating organization, much like Blackwater or Triple Canopy, a couple of paramilitary organizations in the United States that were set up at the outset of the war in Iraq in 2003. So Prigozhin, I don't know if he was sent to the West as bait to say, hey, guys, I'm really unhappy with my bosses. He was doing a Luca Brasi from The Godfather, going to see the Salasso. Say, I'm not necessarily happy with the Don. I want to come over to your side. What is clear is that Prigozhin met sometime in fall of 2022 with Ukrainian intelligence and British intelligence in Africa. And I think it was there that this plot began for him to defect, for him to lead a coup. And over the ensuing months, we started seeing intelligence come out from remember the Discord leaks, that young airman up in Massachusetts that put all that information out on the internet, supposedly. That within there, we learned that Prigozhin had passed intelligence to NATO about the location of Russian troops, which sounds very damning, like, oh my God, how could he do that? That's betraying his country. Well, in the intelligence business, if you're trying to establish someone's bona fides, you're going to allow them to pass what appears to be sensitive intelligence information, but you know that it's not going to damage your position. So in this case, the Russians knew full well that NATO and the Americans, by virtue of their satellites and drones and fixed-wing reconnaissance aircraft, knew exactly where Russian troops were located. But they gave Yevgeny Prigozhin that information to pass to the Americans and to the Brits to convince them that, oh man, he's on the level. He's given us this top secret information about troop locations. And the Russians knew all along that the U.S. knew where those troops were located. So I think what happened is you got to look at the timing of all this as well. Prigozhin launched that mutiny on the 24th of June, and that was it coincided with the end of a major NATO military exercise. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think that part of the planning in all this was leaving open the possibility that if Prigozhin succeeded, that NATO air assets could come in to Russia to assist him. Now, with any sort of, when you stage something like this, you're not going to tell everybody up and down the line, hey, this is not for real. The guys below Prigozhin actually believed it was real, and that's why I think it was an unforced error, and that some of his troops shot down and killed some Russian air crews because they thought it was the real deal. But it was nipped in the bud so quickly because the units of the Akhmat battalion, they were already alerted and in place. Prigozhin actually had no viable plan for moving 3,000 guys from Rostov-on-Don up to Moscow, which is 720-mile trip, I believe, over land. He had no air assets to deploy troops. So, and what you saw in the West was a fervent belief. They really thought they had this guy. They thought he was their guy, and turns out Prigozhin wasn't. So, since then we've seen Prigozhin's. He's showing up like that character, children's book character. Where's Waldo? Man, he's here, he's there, or Forrest Gump. He's there. He's in all these key positions right now.
Mm-hmm.
So right now he's in St. Petersburg, and then previously he was in Belarus, and his troops are training. The Wagner group's training Belarusian forces. So it's. I think ultimately what it is, he's an intelligence asset being used to troll the West. I think it's that simple.